Hey everybody, I'm Francesca Maxime, and this is WiseGirl for Monday, December 5th. And I think this is the first full week of our last month of the year. So definitely a time for reflection and thinking about how the year went, and also remembering that we can always begin again as January rolls around and we will usher in 2017. As Sharon Salzberg, one of my teachers, tells us, whatever it is that we're doing, we can always start at the beginning and, just keep on going. One of the things I wanted to talk about today is mindfulness, the concept that clearly has taken the world by storm, if you will. Everybody talks about mindfulness in terms of paying attention, it being a way that you can feel better about your life and the impact or footprint that you leave, the wake that you leave behind you, if you will, or the lack of a wake, perhaps. Maybe you want to be more like a still canoe than a roaring cigarette boat. But also to sort of think about it not necessarily exclusively in terms of whatever you conceive of your mind as being. A lot of people conceive of their mind as being their brain, something that's situated between their two ears and inside their skull, and all the operations that kind of go on from the neck up. But in many ways, mindfulness is a lot more expansive than that. We see people recommending that we be mindful when we drive, or we be mindful when we pet our cat, or we be mindful when we brush our teeth. But mindfulness to me is often really just a state of being in terms of a willingness to pay attention. It is the part of us that can remember, meaning all the different member parts of us and of the world that we interact with, and that is in our immediate view and also in our not so immediate view, but to remember, to reconnect, to bring back together, and to then be mindful of the totality of that situation, regardless of how small that situation may be. For example, this morning I was lighting a candle, and when I was done lighting the candle, I noticed that I kind of tossed the lighter over to where it was situated before. And that's not really mindful. Now, why does that even matter? It only matters because when we pay attention to small things, like gently placing something back from whence it came, we can then repeat that kind of gentle behavior in the larger things in our life that are also involving of other people, not just inanimate objects like a lighter, or other sentient beings, for lack of a better word, like animals that we interact with, pets perhaps. So being mindful means a little bit more than just sort of, watching yourself with another sort of viewpoint as you're brushing your teeth, saying, gee, I'm brushing my teeth now. Yes, I'm being mindful of brushing my teeth. And, I'm being mindful of the candle lighting. That's good. Let me make sure that I put the lighter back here. It's a kind of, as was described to me in a lecture by another teacher of mine, Gina Sharp, yesterday, it is a heedfulness that is sort of more all-encompassing toward generally what's right to do. Does anybody really need anything thrown around? Not really, not unless you're, Tom Brady or whomever your favorite quarterback is trying to throw a football, or you're a pitcher trying to throw a baseball and you have a particular target, and that is very precise, and you have to be mindful in that kind of situation in order to be successful. So I'd invite you to consider mindfulness as that kind of precision, but at a smaller scale and on a regular basis, in terms of being an integrated part of your life that becomes the way you operate in life, becomes the way that you live. So it is a sense of heedfulness, and it's also a sense of what we might want to call wakefulness, meaning that when we are awake, we are really sort of enlivened, we are paying attention in ways that enable us to have a certain amount of concentration and interest. We're curious about things in a way that we otherwise might just take them for granted. That might be playing with your kid if your child wants to come and, show you a new toy or show you a new homework assignment that they actually like and they, are curious about themselves. It may be something a little bit more perplexing to you, that instead of getting angry at the situation or about the situation, you may actually ask yourself the question like, well, what does it mean if I were to get curious about it and if I were to be mindful of the fact that this is what otherwise I might be perceiving as an obstacle, that I can kind of take in and perceive as an opportunity to maybe teach me something if I get curious about it. So there's that sort of wakefulness and enlivened aspect of it. And then getting back to sort of where I started in terms of mindfulness, and where is the mind in the mindfulness located exactly? What if we thought of it as heartfulness as well? What if we incorporated the idea of, really sort of sharing what's in our heart to others and being mindful of that situation as we go along? For example, driving along the highway yesterday when I was going up to play tennis all the way up from Brooklyn to the Bronx, it was kind of not an easy drive, as is often the case in New York City. And yet, at the same time, I had to remind myself several times, everybody is just trying to do what I'm trying to do, trying to just sort of get from one point to the other safely. Hopefully everyone is doing so in the best way they know how, and to the best degree that I can be mindful of not only how I drive, but how I interact with the people around me who are also driving, and not honk or speed up or cut them off or try to enact in some kind of behavior that quickens my pace perhaps in the short term, but is not so much heartful, meaning I wouldn't want someone to do that to me or for me. I'm sort of increasing a connection that may be a little bit invisible since we're all in our respective cars, but at the same time kind of has a cumulative felt sense of community and of shared responsibility and of being well and of wellness for not only ourselves and for others. So I would just invite you to consider that mindfulness can also be heedfulness. It can also be perhaps wakefulness, and it also can be perhaps heartfulness. So those are just some of my thoughts for today's Wise Girl. Please send me your feedback at Francesca Maxime or under the comments below on YouTube or on whatever social media platform you find me at. And I look forward to seeing you and talking to you again. And maybe I'll try another Facebook Live sometime soon. Take care. Hope you have a great week. Bye.